So Christmas is almost here, and you might be thinking, I need to get a starter on the table. But what do you make that buys you some time and looks like $1 million? Well, we're going to make a pressed confit terrine with the leg and the thigh. So we're going to jazz them up. Super straightforward to make. If you don't know what confit is, stick around in the video. I'll show you what that is. And if you don't know what a terrine is, stick around. I will also show you what that is. This is a great starter that you can put on the table to get ahead this Christmas. Have a bit of elegant plating and buy yourself a bit of time so you can chill at the table a bit more, have 1 or 2 more drinks with your guests, and then just worry about the main course. Right, let's get into this one. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Now we're going to start by curing our turkey leg and thigh and the wings that we had from our turkey crown video. We're going to add 20 grams of kosher salt in stages, so half of it first, and then we're going to add about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, also in stages, 1 teaspoon of ground fennel, 2 garlic cloves, slice them up, just bung them in, and grate in 10 grams of fresh ginger, no need to peel. Now turn your turkey over, and then we're going to add the remaining salt and cinnamon. Crack on some pepper. You could put whole peppercorns here too. Add 7 sprigs of thyme. You don't need to pick the leaves. Bonus. Mix this all around. Cover this with a bit of cling film, and this is the basis of the cure for your confit. You can let this ride in the fridge for up to 48 hours. 24 hours is great. I let this go for 2 days because, you know, you get busy this time of year. Now, after 24 or 48 hours, you're just going to wipe off some of the excess kind of salt or spices, nothing too crazy. Put this into a fresh container that's going to be oven proof, and then we are going to render out some duck fat, but we're going to add a couple of things first. A nice big sprig of rosemary there, about 3 or 4 bay leaves, a tablespoon of coriander seed. And you can mix this up, do all different spices, and probably about 30 grams of fresh ginger, no need to peel, just slice it up like that. Now we're going to render some duck fat. This is the confit part. It's basically cooking something in fat. So I'm going to use about 2.5 liters of duck fat. I would use more, but that's all I've got on hand. And then I'm going to top this up with some turkey fat from a previous video. You could also use olive oil as well. Melt that all, pour it all over, and the important thing is to have everything submerged in that glorious fat. And then we're going to slowly cook this uncovered for 6 hours at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. You know when it's done because you can take a knife and put it through like this. It'll be super tender and pull out with ease. Okay, that's perfect. Now just cover this, put it in your fridge overnight, and then the fat will solidify. The next day, it is going to look like this. Take out one of your turkey legs and just scoop away the fat. Take off as much as you can. A pair of gloves is your friend in this job. And do the same with the wings as well. Do not throw this fat out, it can be reused. A little bit on that later on in the video. So for a couple of containers, and we're going to separate the bones, the meat, and the skin. It's really easy to peel the meat away. You can just see it's coming off in big clumps like this. Absolutely beautiful. Take your time to make sure you get every little bit of bone, gristle, anything like that. And that skin there, you don't want to throw that out. We're going to use that. I'll show you more on that later. Just look how easy the meat comes off the bones there. Okay, when you're done, you're going to have 1 container with your bones. You can put that in your gravy, 1 with your meat and your skin. Now what we're going to do is roughly chop up the meat. You don't want to go too fine, but you don't want the bits too chunky. So something around this type of texture is perfect and ideal. So if it's too big, it's just going to fall apart when you cut it. So chop it up kind of roughly as best as you can like that. Now we're going to add some flavors to the base of this. We're going to finely chop 100 grams of pickles. You can use your basic dill pickles here or cornichons, whichever you've got. Just chop them up nice and fine. You don't want any chunky bits in there. So do the best you can. Then you're going to go in with about 60 grams of capers. Give those a nice little chop up as well. Put those in, and then a heaped teaspoon of Dijon mustard and whole grain mustard. And then we're going to go in with 15 grams of beautiful parsley. Chop that up nicely, put that all in, add a generous seasoning of salt and pepper. We're going to taste this later and add more and adjust accordingly. A nice good couple of pinches of cayenne pepper, and then about half a teaspoon of ground ginger. And then we're going to add some of that confit fat just to give it a nice bit of body, bind everything together, and lots of flavor. Anywhere from 3 to 7 tablespoons, depending. You're going to do a bit of trial and error, mix it in, and if the mixture looks all nice and mushed together like this, you're good to go with the fat. Give it a tasting and adjust the seasoning as necessary, and then put it in the fridge just to chill out. Now, you can just use a loaf pan instead of a terrine mold. That's what I pretty much do. Just put a bit of water in it and then just put some cling film. It helps it stick. Now, normally I have the bigger cling film, so I've got this short one. So gonna have to do a bit of a cowboy job and get it in there as best as I can. Yeehaw! There we go. That looks good to me. You just want to make sure you've got a few inches overlap on each side, and then you're going to start putting your terrine mixture in. Press it down with the back of your hand as you go until you filled it all up and it's in there nicely. And then we're just going to compact this down, make sure it's nice and even. Just use the back of your hand, and what we're going to do is fold over the cling film once we've made ourselves a little template. Get yourself a bit of card, measure it out like that. cut it up, wrap it in foil, just trim off any ends if it doesn't fit perfectly, and make sure it's nice and snug. And then what we're going to do is put that cling film overlap back over the terrine, and then we're going to put a fresh piece of cling film over the top just to make sure everything's clean and covered. And then you're going to put that template covered in foil over the top of this, put on 2 cans of heavy tomatoes like this or whatever you have, and press it overnight. You can even let it go for 2 days, no problem. And don't forget to strain off all that beautiful confit fat. This can be used over and over, so do not throw it away. It makes amazing roast potatoes for this Christmas. Plenty fat left over. Now we're going to move on to those skins. I haven't forgotten about those. Okay, so we're just going to put that between some grease-proof paper, ideally on a tray, but mine were all being used. You're going to put another piece of paper on top. You can cut it like this if you're using a tray. Then put another tray on top, give it a little squish down, and then we're going to put it in the oven at 350 Fahrenheit for about 30 or 40 minutes until they're golden brown like this. Put them on some kitchen towel to absorb any excess fat. Look at those. Super crispy. Okay, now the next day your terrine should be nicely pressed. Take off your cans of tomatoes, take off the template, and then all you're going to do is get a spatula, run it around gently, and then just invert the terrine in one go and it will pop right out. Have some confidence, no fear. There you go. Now we're just going to peel away the cling film. Don't be too aggressive. A gentle touch will be your friend. And then give it the old alley-oop on one hand so you can take off that cling film, and let's cut off a piece of this. It looks amazing. So just going to show you the beautiful layers and everything inside. Look at that. What a beautiful way to use up a leg and thigh for Christmas. Now we've got that skin that's been crisped up. We're going to put some of the tomato powder on that from a tomato confit video we did way back in the day. So that still works pretty good. Cut that up into a few little pieces, and there's our garnish. Have to have a little nibble of that. That is unreal. Okay, now put a piece of your terrine on a plate. I'm going to use some cranberry gel, the spiced one from the Financier. Actually works very well indeed. Put on some cornichons, some pickled onions. Use pickles, whatever you like. I made a little crostini here from some bread. Put a bit of extra virgin olive oil on there just to give it a little gloss on the terrine. I'm going to put on some Malden smoked salt, and then I'm going to garnish with that crispy skin. And you have a beautiful starter you can put out in front of your guests that looks decadent and is super easy to make. A pressed confit turkey terrine, my friends. An absolute belter to put on the table. Merry Christmas.
Let's try some of this, shall we? The texture's so nice. You get the cornichon, you get that little flavour of ginger, the herbs, and the turkey and the fat. You really taste it all. Super delicious. Try it with a bit of this. That's really nice. Adds a nice little salty, crunchy element. Have that as a starter. Nice little glass of bubbly while everything else is being made. This is really cool because you can take all the stress out in the day. Make this a couple of days in advance. Put it on your table. Your guests are going to be like, wow, how did you make this? Now you know how. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do. That would be the best Christmas present I could ask for this year. Right, appreciate all of you that have done so far. Have a Merry Christmas when this one does go out for Christmas. And we'll see you in the new year. Cheers.